Hi, good morning. So we're nearing the end of our holiday, and I wanted to share with you some of our thinkings regarding strategy and product line changes, etc. So you've seen this picture before. This is the photo that I hung up in the back of the bakery about 7 years ago when we bought this place, and we've certainly had, a big impact, I think, with what I call good breads, right? Breads that are, better made and better for you. And a lot of people I know have appreciated what we have done in that field. But there's a lot of needs that people have when it comes to bakeries and baked goods and carbs. And, everybody wants their own needs met, which is, kind of giving us a number of ideas. So that brings me to today's subject, which is ketogenic, ketosis, keto diets. What's going on there? Okay, so my wife and her friends tell me that keto is everything now. I guess I'm going to believe them. And so what's up is, normally we evolved to kind of scurry through the jungle and eat nuts and berries and dig up roots. And these are fairly carb-heavy things, and that's what our metabolism does, is we consume carbs, turn them into sugars, and that's how we get our energy. And then we also have this ability for, when we come across a feast, we can put away extra calories as fat. And then when we come across a famine, we can burn that fat. And that's the key to ketosis. It's a different metabolic process. Your body's doing a different thing, but it's now living off the fat. And so the idea now is that with this keto diet, you can basically by eating fat, right? Like I think about 70% of your calories as fat, 20% protein, 10% carbs, something like that. You can trick your body into thinking it's now famine time, and it will consume your own fat. So yeah, literally, on a keto diet, you can eat steak with butter and yogurt on it and lose weight. I'm not trying to recommend this, by the way, because I don't know enough to recommend anything, but this is what's going on. So what's missing here, obviously, is carbs, all right? So, and what you're looking at there is a whole load of carbs. But people like that, and even if you're on a keto diet, you still want bread. And if you talk to people who are on a gluten-free diet, they still want bread. Geez, gluten-free, so there's another group of people. And so, well, anyway, so I've been messing around with some stuff. So here's something. This is called cloud bread. It's basically a meringue. Now, I know when you're thinking meringue, you're thinking of some yummy pie, but the yummy pie is yummy because it's got sugar in it, and what is sugar? Carbs. Okay, so this is like sugar-free. And you can use this cloud bread, which I said is basically a meringue, in a number of ways. Okay, so there's one of these. So I guess you could make these sort of like English muffins and sell them to like make sandwiches out of. Can you see that? Make a ham and cheese sandwich out of that. Maybe, might be one of those keto things. On the other hand, you can also make them a bit bigger and make pizzas out of them, which I have done. Look at that. Okay, so that could be a thing, but then, right, am I going to sell just the pizza crusts or actually go for the whole pizza? Okay, this is something we're going to be looking at. Another thing you can do for these ketogenic people, or ketosis people, a type of bread. Now, I know I tried gluten-free breads back in, was that late March, early April? And they tasted awful, right? And I don't want to, belabor the point, but really, the reason I gave up on them at that time was they just tasted so, there was no recovering them. They were so bad. Okay, anyway, so this bread is almond bread. Oh, where'd you go? And that actually turned out quite well. And it is mostly just ground up almonds and then some eggs to hold it together. So really, it's kind of like an almond omelet. Okay, the problem with that, okay, and again, this is for the keto people, not the gluten-free people necessarily, is that loaf, and it's just like the size of a little Christmas cake loaf, contains, at a retail price, $7 worth of almond flour. Okay, so you're probably looking at like a $15, $20 loaf by the time I could actually make it, right? So there's some challenges there, and I'm looking to try and hopefully get another source of almond flour because I want to try this. Okay, so then of course you can see there's some overlap between that and the gluten-free, because this does not contain flour. And the almond cake also does not contain flour. Neither of them contain sugar because they were intended for a ketogenic diet, which should be low in carbs. Okay, so you think maybe there's some overlap with the gluten-free folks there, except when you look at most of the gluten-free recipes, the motivation is different, right? The keto people want no carbs. The gluten-free people want no gluten. To make the gluten-free products at all acceptable to our palate, you need to do something with the flavor for them, right? Because they taste awful. So you just load them up on salt or sugar. And the salt obviously has limits. You can make something too salty, but sugar, there's almost no limit, right? So these two things don't necessarily mesh very well, but there is certainly room for overlap with them. Okay, so that's something we're going to be looking at. And then on the other hand, you've got the true celiacs, right? Now, when I made that almond loaf, I actually wanted a friend who is gluten-free and also celiac to sample it. So I was being paranoid, right? I was being really, really careful making that one. And it is a completely different mindset in baking, right? Because we throw flour around all the time here, right? So a ketogenic diet person isn't going to be that concerned if we've got trace flour. And frankly, a lot of the people who come in here looking for gluten-free products aren't that concerned if it's been exposed to trace flour. And then these people really tick off the celiacs because we're making all this stuff and calling it, you know, gluten-friendly or something, and for them it just won't work, right? It's unfortunate. Then, of course, I got a handful of recipes from another customer, and she's vegan. And so her main concern is just something contains no animal products. So I'm looking through her recipes, and it all looks like basically normal baking, except that you have to look for dairy-free milk and dairy-free yogurt and dairy-free sour cream and dairy-free butter. And it doesn't matter really, you know, what else is in there as long as it's animal-free. So these are, like, it's not just a matter of I follow a recipe, I make a thing, follow a recipe, make a product, follow a recipe, make another product. Everything happens here in a system, and a system that uses flour is what it is. And a gluten-free system is a completely different way of running your operation, right? And it's frankly hard for me to change that focus, because when you're coming in as a keto customer or a gluten-free customer, or, you know, maybe even a celiac customer or a vegan customer, you want me to care about what you care about, and I want to care about what you care about. But you have to trust me and trust us here at the bakery that we are being as careful with your product as you would be. So we have this communication issue, so that I want you to know what it is we're doing, right? So that, I mean, obviously we're not trying to make a celiac sick, right? Okay, and on your ketogenic diet, you really can't have the carbs. So and I'm not the only one, you know, who's, you know, got these issues too. I mean, there's restaurants and grocery store chains, and there's a lot of people who are trying to get you what you want, right? Carol brought over a friend of hers a couple days ago to try that almond bread. I guess she's like the keto diet guru of Redcliffe. And, you know, she's been at this for years, and you know, prior to meeting her, I had thought, okay, well, it's another weight loss thing, right? I mean, I'm old enough to have seen 20 diets come and go, right? I mean, it's easy to be cynical about weight loss diets. But, you know, she's prouder of the fact that she's helping and advising diabetics how to manage their insulin levels just with diet, right? And so they're not injecting themselves with insulin, and that's pretty cool, right? So to be, you know, and that really should be possible, to be diabetic and control your insulin just with monitoring and the proper diet, right? And we do have diabetics in this bakery a lot who come in, look around and go, oh, I'm diabetic, I shouldn't be here. And then they go for it anyway, right? It happens. So Yeah, it's a broad spectrum. My own daughter has been told, and she's got a number of food allergies, and she's got asthma, a bit of skin issues, right? And she's been told avoid North American wheat, but if you're eating imported wheat, that's probably okay, right? Completely different dietary issue altogether. So we've got to do something, and frankly, more cookies and treats aren't really the answer I'm looking for, because there are a lot of issues out there and people have a lot of concerns, and I've got some of them too, right? And so anyway, look for that keto bread, the almond bread coming. We're gonna float these cloud breads. That's gonna be coming. And maybe cloud pizza, and at the same time I'm dropping a few cookies and things just to make time for us to begin experimenting more. And okay, so that's an 11-minute video, and that's enough of that talk, and I hope you understand more of our thinking now. So thanks a lot.